Hey folks, before I jump into today's episode, I want to let you know that the Disney Coast to Coast 2026 wall and desk calendars are now on sale. Enjoy a bit of DCTC every day with next year's calendar featuring photos in the Disney parks taken by me. Plus, each Disney park's anniversary is notated on the calendar. Not only is it a fun keepsake to enjoy all year, but each purchase helps support this show. They also make a great holiday gift for the Disney fans in your life. Check it out for yourself and place an order using the link in this episode's description. Today on the show, my friend Samantha joins me to discuss her dream gig as a character performer with Disney Cruise Line. Samantha recently finished a 9-month contract on the Disney Wonder. During our conversation, we talk about the whole process, including the auditions, rehearsal and safety training, performing on the ship, and the day-to-day schedule. Whether you're someone who's interested in possibly working for Disney Cruise Line someday, or you simply enjoy being a guest on a Disney cruise, you'll surely have a new outlook on the hard work that goes into making daily dreams a reality for guests. As I'm sure you're aware, Disney cast members sometimes need to talk in code to skirt around ruining the magic. You'll hear Samantha talking in code at some points during this episode, but I'm sure you'll understand exactly what she's getting at. Now, enjoy my conversation with Samantha all about working as a performer for Disney Cruise Line.
It's time to dive into today's Disney dialogue.
Hello, Samantha, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so happy to have you here. Before we jump into anything Disney Cruise Line, let's let folks know how we know each other, because a little over a year ago, I was producing a little something in Salem, Massachusetts called the I Put a Spell on You Masquerade, which was a Hocus Pocus themed party and a shooting location from the film. And your friend Meryl, I had cast as Winifred. And I was like, I need a standby. I need a swing. I need somebody. I had the three sisters cast, and I was like, I need a swing. Does anybody know anybody? And she brought you up. And we Zoomed, and I'm telling you, like, minute number one, I was like, oh, this girl is awesome. And then you came out to Salem. You were living in New York. You came out to Salem. You did the gig. I was like, you're spectacular. And I know I've told you this in person, but you're spectacular. I am not in any shock whatsoever that you got this Disney Cruise Line gig immediately after.
The day that I drove up to Salem, Massachusetts with Meryl, I had a callback for Disney Cruise Line. I was driving from that. So that's kind of
I remember that.
Yeah.
I actually remember that because it delayed your drive to Salem a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think Meryl was like, we're going to come up like early the next day instead of the night before or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it delayed something a little bit. And I was just like, okay. But
well, it worked out.
It all worked out very, very nicely. So I was so happy for you when I heard you got this gig. And it was kind of a dream gig for you, right?
Yeah, so I have grown up going to Disney World every single year. My family would go every Easter. We'd make a big trip out of it. We'd rent a house with all my cousins. And then my immediate family would go, like, when I got into college, like, everyone got older and it was difficult for everyone to go. My family and I would still try to go at least once a year. It's just a place that I've always loved, Walt Disney World. I ended up working there for a summer when I was in college. And I just love the Disney brand. I love the princesses. I grew up and I was like, I want to be a princess. I love them so much. Like, how do I emulate them in everything I do? And I've just been auditioning for Disney for anything that'll take me. I always showed up to every audition, dancer, vocalist, character performer, literally everything. A Marvel audition, like, you name it, I was there. I even showed up to, this is so random, a Star Wars audition at Disney World. And I was too small, like, to be considered for the roles. But I showed up. I was like, they're going to see my face. And then I ended up booking a job at Disney World shortly after that. So I don't know if it helped, but it didn't hurt my chances.
So you did Disney College program, it sounds like. So what were you doing as part of that?
I was a dancer in the Boo to You parade. So I started, I think it was May of 2023 is when I got hired at Walt Disney World. And I performed the Boo to You parade. I had to leave the company in August, I wasn't there for, like, I did a couple parades. Like, I left like late August to go do a national tour. So I had left Disney. But when I was leaving, making a decision to leave Disney and leave this dream job for another dream job, I remember a manager told me, like, Disney will always be there and you will work for the company again in some capacity. Like, you just have this like spark about you that Disney would love. So I said, thank you. And ended up working out. I ended up working for the company again.
Amazing. So you start with the college program, then you worked at Walt Disney World as a performer after that?
Yes. So the college program I did twice. I'd worked at the Mine Train when I was a sophomore. So I was like 19 years old running the Mine Train. And then I had graduated college, but you could still do an extension program because of COVID. They like extended their amount of time you could apply after. So I just graduated and I applied and I got it and I auditioned for entertainment, got it that way because you could be a college program participant in entertainment, like in the parades and stuff. So that was cool.
Okay. That's so wild. And then you eventually end up on Disney Cruise Line. This was on the Disney Wonder cruise ship, which is the second Disney cruise ship that was launched in 1998. So unbelievable. Had you been on a Disney cruise before?
I had been on one since I was based out of Florida for a little bit because I went to University of Central Florida, worked for Disney, all that. They dock out of Cape Canaveral for a lot of their cruises, which is like a 45-minute drive from where I lived in Orlando. So I went on the Disney Dream for a Christmas cruise, like right after COVID. So the entertainment was kind of minimal. They had two big Walt Disney Theater shows. I believe they had the Sail Away Deck show as well. And the meet and greets were very spaced out, very sporadic. Like they would stay on a spot and like Daisy Duck would be over here and you'd be over here and you can take like a selfie with her. Like, so I think that was early 2021, kind of when they reopened everything. I went on that and I was like, this is so cool. I didn't know that they had, like, I knew Disney Cruise Line existed. I didn't know to what extent. And even during COVID, the entertainment was still amazing. Like I remember watching the Beauty and the Beast Walt Disney Theater show and just falling in love with that story, falling in love with what was happening on the stage. I was like, oh, these people are so talented. And these sets are amazing. And the choreography was insane. They were doing like forte turns on a rocking boat. Like it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I was with my boyfriend at the time. And I was like, well, I want to do this. How do I audition for this? And then my first Disney Cruise Line audition wasn't until, because they never really come to Orlando for auditions. You kind of got to go to New York, Atlanta, other places. My friends and I were in a production of Young Frankenstein right before a hurricane had hit in 2023 during hurricane season. And our building had gotten shut down because it was destroyed in part of it was destroyed in the hurricane. And we said, hey, there's a Disney Cruise Line audition this weekend in Atlanta. We don't have a show anymore. Why don't a couple of us take a little road trip to go audition? And I'm like, I never get kept by Disney. They're not going to keep me. Sorry, this is 2022 before I started working for Disney. I was like, they're not going to keep me. They never keep me. And I went and I got kept all the way to the end of that audition. And I remember just being like, okay, they like me. This is great. And then obviously nothing came out of that, but that was really cool just to see that. And then after I worked for Disney, did the national tour for a little bit. And then I moved back to New York in January of 2024. I kept auditioning for things, showed up to Disney Cruise, and it was a lot easier for me to access them. They had so many auditions in New York City. I feel like there was an audition every month for like singers, dancers, character performers. I just kept showing up. They kept keeping me. They kept telling me that they really liked me. They didn't know like where to place me though. And then finally I got an offer email randomly. Like it was so cool. I still can't believe it happened. I found out that I was getting a fitting for Disney Cruise Line while I was working the Grinchmas Holiday Spectacular at Universal Orlando last year. So that was kind of crazy. I was in the chair getting my nose done to be a Who, and I got a call from Disney Cruise Line casting. And they said, hey, can you make it to New York City for, we just need to fit you in something in like a week. And I was like, I'm in Florida. And I was literally getting my nose done. And I was like, I'm like, can I go get fit at Walt Disney World? Because I'm like right down the street from them, work at Universal Orlando. And they're like, no, you got to come to New York. We have to see you in person. And I'm like,
so wait a sec. Does that mean you had a gig? Like if they were fitting you, is that how you found out you were hired?
That's how I found out that there was a possibility of me like getting it. So I had gone to pretty much an audition every single month for that year. I was living in New York. I was always showing up to every Disney audition that they had for Cruise Line or for like Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, for like Hong Kong and Shanghai. Like I'd show up, I'd make it to the end, and then I just wait. And then nothing would come out of it. So I started Grinchmas October 2024. And in September 2024, I went to one last audition, which is like, hey, I'll go to one more before I head back to my gig that I'm doing. And I made it to the end. They had measured me there. And I had read for two characters who are a little villainous and a little heroic. Because I'm almost 5'9", so I'm very tall for a girl. And they said, hey, we have a new ship coming out, the Disney Destiny. We need some tall dancers who could portray some iconic Disney villain and hero roles. We'd love to see you for this. I read for both of them. And in my head, I'm thinking like, I'm watching Captain Marvel. I'm watching 101 Dalmatians. I'm like, this is going to be my life. Like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to book this. So I'm sitting in the chair getting my nose done for Grinchmas, like looking like a little who. And I'm thinking in my head, like, oh my God, they're going to like, I'm going to get to hang out with Captain Marvel. Maybe they want to put me in that. Like, I just didn't know. I was going to Italy for Thanksgiving with my family the next week. And the audition, like the fitting that they wanted me to do, was going to be the day after I got back from Italy. So I'm from Long Island. My family was flying into Long Island, but I was going to fly into Orlando to go back to work. I gave that shift away because you could give away shifts at Grinchmas. And I flew back to Long Island with my family, went to this fitting, literally just got measured. They just took my height. That was it. And then flew back down to Orlando.
Me. No, it frustrates me because it's just like, how rude of them to inconvenience you that much to take your height, especially when you were in Orlando. Like,
yeah.
Like,
that was crazy. And I was like, I'm right there. Like, I could go to Walt Disney World. Like, I could go right there. You took my height a month ago. They didn't measure me or anything. Like, didn't take measurements. Like, I don't think they did because they just had them. But they took my height. They asked me a couple questions, like if I had a valid passport, if I was okay with wearing colored contacts, and like my availability. And I wasn't available to January 1st because I was dance captain at Grinchmas. Like, I didn't want to give that up. I loved that job doing the show. So it was over January 1st. I was like, I'm available January 1st. And they're like, okay. The next day, I'm in Orlando. I fly back down. I'm taking a nap because I'm just so tired. I spent a week in Italy with my family, and then I flew, and I could not eat. I was so nervous to eat pasta in Italy because I thought I was going into spandex. Like, I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get the chocolates. I'm not going to fit this. I'm not going to fit things. Not to like give away any secrets, break the magic, but like, I was so nervous.
You can break the magic. It's fine. It's not a problem here. But no, like, just going back to the frustration there of like, you got the gig, so it worked out well. And my guess is if you're going into fittings, it's a most likely chance you're going to get a gig. But it's just crazy to me that they're like, okay, this person who, I mean, imagine if you were in Orlando and not working, and like, I assume you had to buy your own flight back to New York to go to this fitting.
Yeah, I would have had to find a way back to New York. It just happened timing wise. It just happened to work out that like my mom could switch the flight for no extra cost because they were already going to JFK. So like, and my family was flying in like the day before, so I didn't have to cut my vacation short or anything. Like, I'd still go to Italy with my family.
Yeah, I mean, it all worked out beautifully, but I get really annoyed when I hear stories like that. But great, awesome.
The next day, I woke up. I had off that day, and I woke up to an email like with for my agent, because I was with an agent, and saying we have an offer coming in from Disney Cruise Line. And then they sent the offer in, and I scrolled expecting a certain thing, and I found out that I'd gotten something else. And I don't want to break the magic because this particular part of my job meant so much to me. Like, oh, I could cry right now thinking about it. But yeah, I was a character performer, and I hung out with a couple people who I never thought I'd be able to based on my height and based on the way I looked, and I was told for a long time. So, oh my God, the things I got to do and experience with my friends, because you say friends, were just amazing. But like, not to spoil like too much, but like my experience with Disney was like a tale as old as time. It really was. And then I had to let it go, let certain things go for a little bit, but then I didn't. And everything worked out really well. And I also my contract was really special. The Wonder is a very, very small ship. It's a classic ship. We have 15 in my department, 15 people in the main stage department who are mainly singers. So we fill the dancer roles in the 3 main stage Broadway quality shows with people from my department in entertainment. So I was able to dance in 2 of the Walt Disney Theater shows and have amazing dance tracks and like do all different styles, like really work with these amazing choreographers and these amazing iconic shows like the Golden Mickeys, like, and Disney Dreams, which are just 2 staple shows on Disney Cruise Line. And at Golden Mickeys was actually the show that I had a vocal callback for.
I want to rewind for a second here because we're jumping into the gig now, but I want to talk about the audition just in case anybody listening is interested in the audition process. Now, as you mentioned, you auditioned in New York. I know out here in Los Angeles, they have auditions quite a bit. And I'm going to assume in Orlando, but you made it sound like not so much in Orlando.
Not really in Orlando. I actually did go to Toronto once for an audition. I drove up to Toronto one week because I was like, I'm bored, I'll go there.
Okay.
And that's where the rehearsal facility is based in Toronto, Canada. So that makes sense why they have auditions there. Auditions now are popping up in Melbourne, Australia. They're popping up in like London. So.
And what's the website that people go to?
DisneyAuditions.com. And you create a profile. Just put a couple pictures of you on that profile. Put your reels if you have like dance or vocal reels, acting reels. You fill in like your basic information, like your height. And then all you got to do is just show up to this audition. Check DisneyAuditions.com for local auditions, like postings. I know Walt Disney World College Program for Entertainment, those pop up in more random cities. Like I know someone had a random audition in, like sometimes they go to Texas.
Probably big school towns for college program stuff. Big school towns,
yeah. They're looking for like entertainment from that aspect. So if you're interested in auditioning, just check the website and they have auditions for everything listed there.
Okay, so you go and it's kind of a cattle call situation, I assume.
Yeah.
And this is, even if you're non-union, you can show up for these, correct?
Yes. So Disney Cruise Line, because it's a cruise line, like Norwegian, Royal, Disney Cruise Line, Virgin Voyages, Carnival, there's no equity rules because it's all international. We're under Bahamian law. Our Disney Cruise Line was, I don't know if the other ones, but flagship is the Bahamas. So international rules. There's a couple equity performers. I'm an equity performer. There's a couple equity performers on my contract as well. And none of those rules applied because once you go international on a cruise ship, they all go out the window.
So you show up at the audition and then what happens exactly? Just what's the process?
Yeah. At a character performer call, they'll usually list what they're looking for and then they'll keep people for entirely different things. So a basic character performer audition is you show up, you get a number, you check in. You have to have a Disney Auditions profile to attend this audition. So either you create one there or you have one already, and you have to check into the audition via your profile online. You take a selfie, you have with your number on it, and that's how you're checked in for the day. Like you don't need a headshot or resume for a Disney Cruise Line. Like everything should just be, your resume should be on your profile already, and your headshot and your reels and everything. So they see you, they see all your information, they see if you worked for other parks and stuff on your profile and like other things you audition for as well. So once you're there, you check in. There's usually like a morning and an afternoon slot, and there's probably up to over 200 people at either one. Like people really, really want this job. So they'll split the room, probably take about 40 in at a time to learn a very, very basic combination. I think the hardest thing you're going to do is like a jazz square and a 3-step turn. It's going to be very simple. I remember a couple times I auditioned to Shake It Off by Taylor Swift, and I loved that. The hardest Disney Cruise Line character performer audition I did was in Toronto, and they had like a calypso leap in there, and I was like, ooh, yes. But you learn a very basic combination, usually the New York ones. They make a round of cuts, and the first initial cut round is to see if you have like movement, like what your movement quality is, to look at you physically. Like these roles are very, very hard to fill. You have to do many things, and they're looking for very specific tracking that like, yes, you could look like someone, but if you don't fit the other roles that they need, like you're not going to get kept and get the job. And that was something that I had to come to terms with many times. And you can be the most talented one in that room. You can be doing triple turns and improving for your life. But if you don't look like what they need and don't fit what they need, like you're not going to get the job. And Disney, auditioning in New York, but Disney specifically has taught me that lesson of like, it's not me. Like I trust my talents. I trust myself. I've been in for big things. Like it's not me. It's what they need at that time.
Yeah. One of the things that I hear all the time, and this is another thing that's so frustrating to just know, but when it comes to like Broadway shows, and if they're trying to replace a role, and let's say it comes down to two people who are equally talented, equally perfect for the role, the winner essentially is the one who fits in the current costume so that they don't need to pay for a new costume. And like, I get it as a producer, and it infuriates me as a performer.
Yes, I totally feel that way. And I remember hearing a story when I was in college that one of the alumni had like a beautiful Broadway career. Like, she was an ensemble dancer, she could sing, and she was going to be replacing, when they were doing Cinderella on Broadway, she was a replacement for the show, and she gets the costume fitting and she does not fit the costume, and she lost the job because they needed that person to fit that exact costume. Like, they're not going to make new ones. And I'm like, you have so much money. Crazy, but it just is what it is. So it's never you. It's what they're looking for, what they need do for this exact measurements. Disney and Disney Cruise Line, especially, like at Disney World, you can get away with it more, I think, because they have such a wide variety of people. On Disney Cruise Line, we have 15 people in my cast, and I was one of 3 that could do certain things. So it's very small.
So the first portion of the audition is dance.
Is dance, yes. And then they make cuts, and then they'll add on to the dance. So there'll be more like a double turn, maybe a fan kick, like something to show your dance technique, your dance level, your dance skill, like very, like you're taking a jazz class, like, but a more like intermediate jazz class, because they need character performers to fill the roles in the Walt Disney Theater show. So they need to, and to also dance on the deck stages and the Sail Away shows that I got to do, that I loved so much. So they need people who not only look and can fit into roles, but it can also dance. Not every role has to dance. There are dancer contracts and there are mover contracts. So depending on what contract you get, but they prefer more people to dance because the dancer contracts need understudies coming from the mover contracts. But so everyone pretty much has to have some dance technique, some dance ability. You don't have to be the most amazing dancer, but knowing how to move will definitely help your chances of booking a job with Disney Cruise Line.
So considering how many times you auditioned for Disney Cruise Line, were you learning like the same dance combos every audition, or was it changing?
Sometimes, yes. There was a period of like 6 months where I did the same Shake It Off combo every time.
So after the dancing, what was next? Did they start like acting or singing? What was the next part?
Yes, after the second dance call, they made more cuts, and then they whittle it down. And usually by this point, they would measure everyone and also read some people. And some people would actually get pulled to sing, because there are some roles on certain boats that are called headliners, where you have to portray a character that also sings. Like, I know on the Disney Wish, there's a Frozen show where they all sing, and it's coming from the character department. So some people will be pulled to sing. Like, if you have your book, like, what could you sing for us? Or they'll give you material to go home with and then tape. And then if you're reading, you'll be handed a side, kind of a generic side, and they won't really tell you like a certain character or anything. If the character has an accent, they will tell you this. They would kind of hint at that, be like, hey, we need a really British evil accent here and an evil laugh. Can you do that? Or if you spoke Spanish, maybe a certain role required a little bit of that. Like, you could throw that in at the end, because there were some roles that were allowed to speak Spanish on our boat.
Does it ever get to a point, though, where they're like, hey, this is who you're auditioning for. Do your impersonation of that?
For main stage, yes, I had to read signs for Edson Benson, and they said, this is what we want. This is who the character is. Do this. But in the generic reads for character performers, they just want to see how you speak. Like, if you could like public speak in front of a lot of people, I think is a big thing. Because you're also like doing this side, and everyone else who's also doing their side is watching you, and they're recording you. They have a camera in your face, and they're recording you the whole time. So they're just trying to see if you can speak really well, very clearly, slowly, can act it as well. When I say generic set, it is a very generic set. It is about like 4 sentences, and it's I think the sides are even on DisneyAuditions.com, because they use some of the same ones for Walt Disney World for online submissions as well. So if anyone wants to go look them up, they could look at a Walt Disney World performer audition that requires a self-tape, see that generic side, and be like, oh, we're just speaking to a camera. We're just like trying to speak to people and to see if you could have that conversation with someone. It's very conversational. It's not like I'm putting on performance.
And I guess the reason for that is so that they can, I guess, use the same sides for multiple auditions. Otherwise, I feel like they're making it more difficult for the performer, the person auditioning, because it's just like, just tell me what you need and let me give it to you. It's interesting. They must just use the same sides.
They do use the same ones. And a lot of these people, because I went to a Hong Kong audition and I was reading the same side that I was reading at the Disney Cruise Line audition.
Do you remember what, like, any of it?
The Hong Kong one, it was really fun. It was for a villainous role, and I got to like evil laugh. I think it was for a show they have there. I'm not really familiar with Hong Kong or Shanghai Disneyland, but that was really cool. I was told to do like an evil laugh. For Disney Cruise Line, I read for a villainous character twice. And the first time I did it, like, they were just like, be as big as you can be over the top, be dramatic. And then the second time I did it, they told me to do a British accent. So then I realized what was going on. But
may I hear an evil laugh?
No, it was bad. That's why I didn't get it.
That's great. I love that.
I think they thought that because of my height, that's where they were trying to place me, because those certain roles require taller people. But we learned very quickly that that is like Hocus Pocus, like the Sanderson sisters, is kind of like the evilest I could be, like Sarah Sanderson, like very cutesy, not very evil. Oh, I'm gonna kill their puppies and skin them. Like, that's not me. I never ended up reading for the roles that I did. I never read the generic side for them that every other girl did. So again, they can just tell because I read for a hero. I read for a very heroic role. And that was a very generic, like, just kind of the way I speak role that I read for. So I guess from that, they were able to see, oh, she can speak, she can act, she'll be fine.
Beautiful. All right. So you get the gig. You go through that whole audition process. You do the callbacks. You go for a fitting, yada, yada. All that stuff happens. You get the gig. You're doing Grinchmas. So you have about a month, I guess, to mentally prepare for, okay, I guess I'm leaving Orlando.
So I was only in Orlando for those 3 months, and then I was going to go back to New York because I booked Grinchmas while living in New York, and I had housing in Orlando because I had a lot of friends there. So I was like, this is easy for me to do right now. I've always wanted to do the show. I got to be dance captain, which was awesome. Make great connections there. I would do that again in a heartbeat. Did that. And then while I'm in Grinchmas and dance captaining and trying to like do contingencies and everything, I'm also getting emails from Disney Cruise Line saying like, hey, you need a medical. We need to expedite this medical because you got to go.
What does that mean? You need like a medical report? You
need to go to a doctor, and they give you they have forms that the doctor has to fill out to say that you're medically clear for duty. And that could take a while to process. And I was doing this all while I was in Florida. So I couldn't go to I didn't have my primary care physicians here. So I had to go to wherever they sent me in Orlando. I had to get an eye exam. I had to get an ear exam. I had to they had to just like a normal checkup, but more. And then they had to say that I was medically clear for duty. And then they had to process all the paperwork. But this was happening during Christmas, holiday time. So everything was getting delayed. And I was so stressed because Grinchmas ended January 1st. I was flying home that day. And on January 6th, I was supposed to fly out to Toronto to start rehearsals and pack for 9 months of my life. I was also dealing with coming back from Florida. I had my car, where are we going to put my car? Do I even need a car anymore? It was.
Yeah, just life logistics, so much. That's crazy.
I was subleasing. I had an apartment in Orlando that I was subleasing to my friend when I moved to New York, and she was moving out of that apartment. And so I had to get all of my stuff out of that Orlando apartment to New York. So my dad and my uncle drove down, took all my stuff, drove back up while this is all happening. So I'm I came back to New York and went into my childhood room, and it was stuffed with my Orlando apartment, my things from there. And I'm I have to pack for 9 months. I don't have time to go through all this right now. Oh, it was crazy.
Oh man. Is the typical contract 9 months with them?
We had actually the longest contract you could have. Usually it's around 7 to 8 months, but I have been hearing that my contract, specifically my track, was the longest Disney Cruise Line contract for a character performer and for a main stage performer. Very long, just because our season was very long. We had Alaska.
So you head to Toronto. That's where rehearsals take place, I would assume, for all of the Disney Cruise Line ships, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what are you in? Just dance studios, or is there anything unique about the facility?
Yeah, it's the lobby and the like at the outside. We're not allowed to go into the studios, but they've posted some videos. They actually just posted, Disney Cruise Line posted a video of Wonder 50, so the cast that took over after us, rehearsing for Prince Ali, A Number in Disney Dreams, that I also performed. So you can see like the studio and everything in there, and like the props we had, like the tapes on the floor and everything. But the lobby is like, you can look that up. It's very like, you're allowed to take pictures in there. There's like the classic like Disney Cruise Line like logo that everyone takes pictures of on their first day. So it's just like normal dance studios. There's like vocal rehearsal studios. There's like 2 kitchens. There's a bridge that separates. There's like 2 parts to this rehearsal facility because it's so big, because there's just so many people that have to be there. We were rehearsing with the Disney Fantasy and the Disney Treasure as well at the same time. So there was 3 boats. Now they have more ships. So now they have like 6 ships rehearsing at the same time. It's crazy. I don't know how they fit everyone everywhere.
Yeah, it sounds, I mean, obviously they have this figured out to a science. And especially even when you were talking about the audition process of like, you fill out an online portfolio, essentially. They have your headshot there. They have your resume there. They know if you've auditioned before. And I mean, I haven't auditioned for a Broadway show in a couple decades, so I don't know. I don't think Broadway shows are doing it that way, right?
Broadway shows, you sign up about a week before on the Actors Equity website. If you are an equity actor, you get a number, you show up in person, they read out all the numbers, everyone who signed up online, you get a chorus card. If this is for like a dance or singer equity chorus call, then you have your headshot and resume stapled, and then that's your information only on there. You can put your website information on there as well. Like you could have your website on your resume. That's how they could find more material, but you're just going in with yourself and your resume.
Yeah. The whole Disney Cruise Line thing sounds like a very like finely oiled machine, the way that just the whole process. Obviously, they've been doing it for a long time now, so it makes sense that it would. So you're rehearsing in Toronto. How long are you rehearsing for?
I am there from January. I ended up going January 8th when everything got processed. My first day was January 8th until we left for the ship February 21st. So
okay,
almost 2 months. Yeah.
Like 6 weeks? Yeah, something
yeah,
like
6
that.
weeks.
Awesome. So you're learning a lot in 6 weeks. At that point, you know exactly like what roles you're fulfilling, correct?
Actually, no. When I got there, I know my main thing that I'm doing. My contract said that there was a possibility of me being in the main stage shows and the deck shows. I was never promised anything. I got there, I had an assessment for my dance skills. And then from that, they cast the shows, like based on height and based on skill. So I got really lucky. I got cast in the Sail Away party. There's only 4 dancers, 2 are girls. So I was one of the 2 girls chosen for that. And then I got really lucky with my Golden Mickey's tracking. I was in like every dance number. They just liked me, and my height worked for a lot of things. So I was able to, my tracking was really nice. So I got really lucky that way.
Very cool. Did you have some training, or why were you in Aulani? How did that work out?
Oh, Aulani, we went to, that's where we boarded the boat. So we flew from Toronto to Hawaii. It was beautiful. I wish I had more time there. We went on like the sunset. Oh my God, it was beautiful. But we also had safety training. So they fly you to where the boat is going to be docked like 3 days before. And whoever is a new hire or needs like a renewal, because every 5 years you have to do this again, you go through PST training, and you have to go through hours and hours of safety training.
What is PST?
PST stands for Personal Safety Techniques, and it's just learning how to live on a boat and what to do in case of an emergency. So they scare you. We had safety classes in Toronto, and they scared me because they're like, if man overboard happens, like this way, what do you have to do? And like, if the boat goes down, this is how you get into a lifeboat. And I was like, okay, I forgot that this was also an aspect of the job, is you're living on a cruise ship for 7-8 months of your contract, and there's a possibility something can go wrong. Like literally on the Disney Dream, there was a child that went overboard while I was on my contract. Like, so things like this can happen. Crazy to think that that's happening while I'm performing for a Disney entity, but like also that's another aspect of it, is you're living on a cruise ship, you're in a small cabin, you're cut off from civilization, you have no Wi-Fi most days on sea days, and an emergency could happen at a moment's notice. And we would have crew drill was a big thing. They would have drills, like fire safety drills, medical emergencies happened. It was crazy.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how I would do with that. Like that is a definitely a deciding factor, right? And I don't know, do they even like mention that during the audition process? Like, hey, just so like we know you know, but just so you know, like you're going to be living on a ship.
I feel like I wasn't really prepared for the aspect of living on a ship. And I think the problem, like my cons of the contract were just like living on a cruise ship. Like if anyone was like, oh, list your pros and cons, like a lot of my cons would be like small living space, very small cabin, bunk bed, shared space. I couldn't even like shower. Like I would turn my shower on, I would turn it off, soap up, and then turn it back on because it was so small that I couldn't soap up my body and shower at the same time. That's how small these accommodations are, especially for character performers.
Wow.
Yeah, you're seeing the same people 24/7 because you're living together, you're working together. You have to do crew drill. You eat in a crew mess. So entertainment is lucky. We do get Deck 9 privileges. Like we could go to the buffet and get food up there, but sometimes it's closed or sometimes we're not allowed to go up there. We have to eat in the crew mess and whatever they serve to us. So you can't control your meals. You can't really control when you eat. It's kind of dictated by your schedule when the crew mess is open. You can't really stay in contact with family that much. Like you try your best, but you have to pay for Wi-Fi, which is crazy.
It's kind of military.
It's kind of, yeah, your phone is in military time because you're living in military hours. You have to live by, it's called MLC, maritime law. Like this maritime law, like basically gets you, and you can't work a certain amount of hours and you can't go over. And so we've had schedules where it says like MLC on it because like we can't physically work anymore because we're not allowed to by maritime law, which was great for some.
So I imagine that obviously, you know, anybody who's been on a Disney cruise as a vacationer, these ships are gorgeous. These ships have some fabulous amenities. And obviously, you know, backstage cast member, it's the same thing in a theme park. The moment you step backstage, it's a very different vibe. It's a very just, you know, it's not decorative the way the on-stage stuff is. It's can be dirty, yada yada. Are you allowed to step on stage when you're not working?
Yeah, so Disney Cruise Line is, because you're living here and you're working here, there's just no, like we have, it's called the I-95. It's just one long stretch of hallway that goes from the front of the boat to the back of the boat. And that's how you get pretty much everywhere. There's elevators there. The crew mess is there. Like there's crew elevators as well because crew members are not allowed to take guest areas. So you have to get to Deck 9 to go to the gym. You have to go all the way up the crew elevator. There's a crew office on I-95 as well. Like everything we need is there. But you're allowed to go into guest area, on stage area if you're in Disney look. So you have to be presentable. So you have to wear like jeans or business casual or something. You're allowed to go in a guest area that way because we were allowed, like entertainment especially allowed privileges to go up to Deck 9 to eat. So like we could go be in guest area. We could, when I was done working, if I didn't want to take the crew way, I could take the guest way if I was like in Disney look.
And is that because you're a performer or is like that true for any crew?
That's true for any crew. From what I heard, like as long as you're in Disney look, you can be Disney look with your idea, you can be in guest area. A lot of them, it was honestly easier just to go in crew area to get places because all of our cabins are in crew area, like on the I-95. So it's just a lot easier just to do that. For other departments, but sometimes I would need a break. I could go sit out on Deck 4 and read my book. I could go sit up on Deck 10. We were able to like lounge by the pool if we'd wanted to, like eat up there, read up there. Yeah.
Did any guests happen to notice you on like a non-work day where they're like, yeah. How does that interaction go?
Yes. I was clocked all the time. I portrayed a role that looks very similar, hair color, eye color, to how I look in real life and how I do my makeup. And I'm 5'9", so people knew who I was. And they would come up to me all the time, and I just ask about performing and just ask about like trying to get like backstage secrets, or tried to ask me questions that would get me in trouble. And I always just skirted around them, and I would redirect them another way. A lot of the times, though, people were really curious, like when they realized that I was a performer, really curious about the job and like how many months have I been on board, like what is our living situation, our food situation like? Like, are we allowed in the areas? Like questions you're asking, they were really curious about things of that nature. of like, oh, where'd you rehearse for this? What was your audition process like? A lot of people were just really interested in the job as a whole, which is pretty cool to talk about.
Is there any training on how to handle a situation like that if it comes up? Because I'm sure you're not the only person it happens to. So like, and we know Disney loves rules. So is there any training involved?
I don't remember a training like that in Toronto, but of course I asked questions and I said, hey, if this does happen to me, how can I get around it? And you just kind of always divert back to, oh no, my name is Sam. I'm from the United States, blah, blah, blah. It would happen a lot. I would get noticed a lot when I was grading because we also graded the characters as well. So we're basically like character attendants was another part of our job. So I would have my name tag on. I would say Sam from USA and I'd have my greeters on. I'd have my glasses on. My hair would be like up like this, no makeup on. And people would come up to me and say, hey, I recognize you from this certain thing. And I'd be like, hey, that's crazy. My name is Sam. Okay, so can I have your key card and room key? And like, do you want Mickey Mouse to sign this? Like, I would just always go back to what I was doing in the moment and just try to divert them. And eventually they got the hint.
I'm just curious, like, was that ever part of an audition process? Because I got to tell you, I have terrible handwriting, like embarrassingly bad handwriting. And I'm just trying to think, gosh, I go through this audition process. I get a gig based on my other abilities. And then it comes time to learn how to autograph something. And I'm like, I just can't do it. I wonder what happens in that moment.
Some are better than others. Sometimes Mickey has an off day and you can't. And you're like, oh, it's okay. You know what? Everyone has a rough day, even Mickey Mouse. And sometimes his signature is not the best that you want it to be. But I bet if you come back later and have an autograph book, maybe Mickey will be having a better day. So,
you know, what's funny is years ago, I performed as Frankenstein's monster at Universal Studios Hollywood. And they had like I don't know if it's this way anymore, but they had zero training when it came to autographs. And honestly, I was a little surprised the first time somebody came up asking for an autograph and I just scribbled. I'm like, I think that makes sense for Frankenstein monster,
that makes
right?
sense for a monster. Yeah. He does. Why would he know how to write? He barely knows how to speak. He wouldn't know his name.
I asked somebody after and they were like, you can do what you want. You can write Frankenstein. You can write Frank. I'm like, I just scribbled. They're like, go ahead, do that.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't
very
know.
different time.
Universal does have walk around characters, but they're like actors. So I don't know if they also want to go through.
That was kind of the mentality that I was told by another team member. He was like, here at Universal, like, we're not the character in the same way that at Disney you are. You're a performer portraying a role. You know, I'm not sure I 100% buy what he said, but at the time, and we're talking like 15 plus years ago at this point, there was no training there. But so I'm always curious about that. But all right, so you're on the ship, you're doing the gig. What's a typical just day to day for you? Yeah,
so let's see. Our first season was we poured out of San Diego. We were doing 3 and 4 night cruises to Catalina and Ensenada. So that was completely different than our second half, which was a week-long cruise to Alaska in 3 ports. So a normal San Diego day, let's say it's sea day 1. I'm waking up at 7 a.m. Normal. I say that. I try to go 7 a.m. I usually woke up like 5 minutes before I was supposed to be there. Because I was so close. I'd go clock in because you have to clock in. You have to have your ID, make sure you're clocking in for every shift. If not, you get a point for that. And if you get a certain amount of points, then you can get a warning, a verbal, a coaching. So that's their like point system and their like attendance system there. So you go to clock in, you go into where you're working and you get ready for your shift. And sometimes you put on makeup and sometimes you don't. But on those days I would put on makeup and I would get dressed and then I would see a royal gathering for like 2 hours and just watch Princess Belle interact with all these kids for 2 hours. And then I would say, bye, Belle. And I would go clock out. And then I'd have about maybe 2 hours to eat something, maybe take a nap if I wanted to. And then at around 2, so I'm done at like 11:30. And then around 2, I would say, go clock in again. Go put on some more makeup, say hi to Belle again, but this time with a microphone. And there was a show called Royal Court Royalty I believe it's on The Magic, The Wonder, The Dream, The Fantasy. They have a version of it on The Wish and The Treasure. you have to pay like $200 per kids, $90 per observer to go to this Royal Court Royalty show in one of the restaurants. We had this in Triton's, which is one of our beautiful restaurants on board. There would be two main stage actors who would also perform. They would be Lady Camille and Chef Brûlée, and they would put on a little show. And throughout their show, they would sing songs for the princesses, and kids would try to guess what princess is coming out next. A princess would make a grand entrance, deliver a monologue, and then there'd be a meet and greet portion and then a photo portion as well. And the kids get like a lot of swag. They have little apple juice instead of tea. They have a lot of foods they can eat. Like it's a cute little tea party. They get a crown and a cape. It's adorable. So I would always watch that. And that would be like for 3 hours. And then I would say, okay, bye. I'm going to go have dinner. So I'd have about an hour break after I said bye to Royal Court Royalty watching that show. And I would go do the Golden Mickeys. I'd have about half hour to get ready. I would do the hour-long show, dance so much that I'd have like probably a dinner break for an hour, go back, get ready for the show again, do the show again, and then be done around 9:30, 10. So my day was like from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. with like minimal breaks. That was like a normal day one on a 3-day cruise. Other days, there was a time where that was my normal day, and then I would go see a character dance party after Royal Gathering, and I would see Pluto dance for 30 minutes. And that was kind of crazy that was in my schedule that I had to do. So there were some days where I had maybe an hour of break total. And there were some days where I just had more breaks. Like if we were ported in Catalina or Ensenada or any of the Alaskan ports, like we would typically be off until 4. We maybe work in the morning, but then be off until 4. So that was better. An Alaskan cruise was definitely, we had more downtime.
What is the maritime law that you had to go by that was like restricting your hours? Because those sound like crazy hours.
Yeah, you have to have like 10 hours of break total. It doesn't have to be at night necessarily, but like in a 24-hour period, you're supposed to have like 10 hours of rest.
So you can work for 14 hours.
Yeah. And I have.
Wow.
Many times. Like that was like a chill day. There was a time where my friend was injured for a long time and he couldn't do certain things. And I was the only person that could do certain things. So I was doing that day plus more to pick up other things that required of me. It was the character performers. It is no joke. And the Alaskan season was like slower because we had 7 days to stretch out all these things. So like we'd have busy sea days, like with the shows and like with everything that we're doing and the meet and greets and everything. But like we would port in Juneau and we wouldn't work until maybe like the earliest we'd work is like 3:30. So we had time to get off and explore sometimes. I know that's not the same for like if you're a character performer on, let's say, the Disney Wish and you're working out of Cape Canaveral and you have 3 and 4 day cruises to the Bahamas and Castaway Cay and then back, like you're pretty much working a lot more hours. It's crazy.
That's wild.
I work so much.
So on your days off, I assume you just chill. And how many days off do you have? Do you get 2 days off a week?
We don't have any days. We don't have any days off.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
The main stage did. Like my boyfriend did.
I was going to ask you, like, were you offered a chance to renew the contract and did you consider it? But I'm going to guess even if you were, you didn't consider it.
I did not put in an interest form for Wonder 51. I know a lot of the main stages are returning, and my best friend and roommate, Maddie, is a character performer, and she's returning as well. And she has things that she wants to accomplish on this contract that she didn't get to. She's also 19. She's very young. This is like her first job. She didn't go to college. Like she just did Disney Cruise Line. So she wants to do it again. I think a lot of my team is under the impression of like, we don't want to do this contract again. Never say never. When I was on the boat, I was like, I'm not doing this again. Like it took a big toll on my mental health. Like I had my first ever anxiety attack on the boat. That was really bad right before I had to go out for work. That? It was
like a cabin fever sort of situation?
Not really. Like my friend was injured and I was having to do all of his roles plus mine. And certain things don't fit people the same way they fit other people. And I was getting pushed into things that didn't fit me correctly, that I was disapproved in at Walt Disney World. But there's no other option at Disney Cruise Line because there's only 2 of us. So it was really hard doing that. And my management in the middle there, they just did not fight for me, did not stick up for me, just cared more about the operation than the person. My last character manager, his name was Joshua. Shout out Joshua. Harvey, you are amazing. My My boyfriend's like, yes. He would still have to like obviously do the operation to the best of his ability, but like he led with much more grace and like empathy for his performers because he was one. So he understood.
Yeah, that's interesting that obviously it's a difficult situation, right? But it sounds like it was an extended period of time. It's surprising that they wouldn't be like, hey, we need to fly somebody in and
So we
fill
did
this
actually.
role.
We had a girl medically debark. My friend Lucy medically debarked, and then they brought on another girl, Cassie, to replace her, who took on all her roles. We had another girl, Grace, come in for like 3 weeks to just help out and be a body. My friend who was injured, who I was taking over roles for, ended up being fine. So he was able to stay. So I just had to take on the things for like a while. It was a lot. Like he was injured. Like you can't do anything about that,
Yeah.
like you just can't do it.
Listen, you're not blaming him, and I'm sure he felt terrible. So that's not the situation. That's fascinating, though. But yeah, especially if you're doing like no days off. That's a commitment. That's a real commitment. 9 months of a schedule like that. That's wild.
And calling out was hard.
Yeah, you can't really fake a sick day when you're all living in the same place.
I called out a couple times. I had strep throat twice. So that sucked. And like, obviously I had gotten injured from a certain thing that I was wearing. So I had to call out for that. But other than that, you can't really call out.
So we're talking about some hard moments on the ship right there. Let's talk about some really magical ones. Tell me a couple moments that you remember where you're just like, okay, dream come true, and or dream you didn't even know you had come true, or guest interactions that were just amazing.
We would get guest compliments every week. Like our leaders would post them on like the boards of where we worked. And I had received a lot of just like magical moments that I had with families, and they remembered it. And that was just really touching to see, like, oh, I also made a connection with them. Like they felt the same way that I did about it. That was wonderful. I cried so many happy tears during watching Belle. Like it's so many. Like it was amazing. There was this one boy. His name was Zach, and he came on towards the end of the Alaskan season. I think we had like a month and a half left. And so we're with Zach for 7 days, and Zach loved Belle. He had a Belle doll. He had met Belle at Disney many times. He had a Belle luggage. Like he just loved Beauty and the Beast. Zach is autistic, and he was nonverbal for a lot of his life. And his mom taught him how to read by reading Belle's story. Like she had a little Disney book with Beauty and the Beast, and he wanted to read the words on the page that like matched Belle's picture. So that's how he learned how to read. So that was just really special. And reading is such a big part of Belle's life. So obviously she connected with him over that. And every time Belle would leave for a set, or she would go to a show, she would go do Royal Court Royalty, or she would go to meet friends or just go on a stroll, Zach was waiting outside where she was coming out, and he would escort her. And he was always first, and his mom would be waiting first in line, and they'd always be the first to meet Belle. And they'd have something new for her to sign every single time. And they gave her little gifts and little notes. And Zach wrote Belle a note that she still has. And Belle wrote him a note thanking her. And just for like that week, it was so magical, like watching Belle and Zach interact with each other. And he loved her so much. He was just so sweet. Like he never wanted to let go of her hugs. She didn't want to either. Like it was just so sweet. And like knowing that like the main thing in Belle's story is that she loves to read, and that she's different, and that she doesn't really fit in with the people like in her town. And knowing that Zach loves to read, her story specifically, and that he may be a little different and doesn't fit in with people the same way, like not the same way that Belle did, but like they're similar in that way. Like they're just a little different, and people just didn't understand them, and that they could bond over that. And oh my God, I'm going to cry. It was so beautiful to watch that. And it was amazing. And every time Belle would go say hi to other friends, Zach would be there, and he would escort her. And it was so sweet.
That's so sweet.
It was adorable. The last night of the cruise was so hard for him because he did not want to go, but he promised her that he would see her again. So it was very sweet.
Well, I'm so happy that you got to have that or witness that amazing interaction with Zach and Belle. But were there any, when the ship docks, did you get to go and explore anywhere that was particularly exciting? Or do you just want to rest when the ship docks?
Honestly, during San Diego season, we were doing 3 and 4 night cruises, and we barely had any time off. Like we'd even be working during the port sometimes. Like it was just so much. The cruises were like overbooked. It was so many people. We're trying to get out this product like everything into 3 days is crazy. I would sleep all the time. I think I went to Catalina Island twice, went to Ensenada once. But when we got to Alaska, we had a little bit more time to explore. And also, like, when am I going to be back in Alaska? For like, I'm getting paid to be here. In Skagway, there was like this beautiful waterfall we'd always go to. We'd hike over there. We'd explore the towns. In Juneau, I got to take a seaplane. So like we took off from the water and like we floated over a glacier. Like I was like this close to a freaking glacier. I was hovering over it. It was one of the coolest experiences ever. We landed back in the water. That was so cool. Ketchikan, they had this like Great Alaskan Lumberjack show that we got to see for free. So that was really cool. We just explored our 3 ports. Sometimes we went to Sitka, Alaska, and then Icy Strait Point. And in Icy Strait Point, they had this like ropes course we got to do for like $20. That was awesome. They had a bunch of crew engagement, like port adventures we can go on. Like you can sign up to go on a port adventure every week. And if you were chosen, you're able to go. Like I was able to go to the glacier for free because I was chosen for that. My boyfriend and I did a crab feast in Ketchikan, which was awesome. We went on a crab boat. We held a crab and then we like ate crab back at some cabin, and we got to go on that for free because we just got chosen for that port adventure. So it was really cool. Like crew engagement provided a lot of activities for us on board, and we got to explore Alaska, which I don't think I'll ever get to do that again. So that was really cool.
You mentioned a boyfriend. You had a little bit of a fairy tale adventure yourself on the Disney cruise, didn't you?
I did. I was not expecting this at all. I took this contract because like obviously it was a bucket list dream job of mine. And I was like, I'm so excited to like get away from boys. I went through something tumultuous like right before it. So I was like, I'm so excited to get away from boys, to like explore Alaska, find myself. I'm so excited. And he was a later hire. So he came in. He had like, I think 3 weeks in Toronto to learn 3 shows because he was in all 3 main stage shows. He was Prince Charming, Flynn Rider, and Han. So he was like just all the princes. And I can
you say that?
Because yes, if you're portraying a role in the Walt Disney Theater, you are not that character, you are portraying that role. They always say, please welcome back the cast of the Walt Disney Theater. So like you can say that. So like we had Rapunzel in our shows, and a girl named Abby played Rapunzel. And then we had Elsa and Anna, and Randa was Elsa. You're allowed to say that you're portraying the theater role. Yes.
Really fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. So you had a little fell in love on a Disney cruise ship.
It was because he's from like Orlando, Lake Mary area. And I lived there for 5 years, but he was gone. He was in college when I was also in college. So he went to college in Ohio. So we missed each other. His mom saw me in shows in Orlando. We worked with the same people. Like he knows my best friend from Orlando. So it's kind of like an invisible string theory. And now he lives in New York and I also live in New York. And I was like, that's crazy. So we were friends first, and my friend group just really liked him. We eventually found out like, oh, I think this is more than friendship. And yeah.
That's lovely.
And I was nervous because I was like, I don't want to start dating someone on a cruise ship. Like,
I know. Imagine
this isn't
the
real
breakup.
life. Like, this is not real life. Right? And I was like, we work together. We're literally like dance partners for a number. Like, what happens? But we obviously did not break up and we're still together. So.
Well, that's awesome. I am curious. You were on the Disney Wonder, which, launched, as I said, in 1998. So we're 27 years in, and the regular life of a cruise ship is 25 to 30 years. Now, I will say the Disney Wonder had a refurb, and I think it was 2023 they did a refurb. But, how's the ship doing?
She could go for another refurb. She actually has another refurb, like a dry dock is what they call it, scheduled for 2026. So I believe it's every 3 years they try to dry dock the ship. You can tell it's an older ship because I've been on the Disney Dream, then going to as a guest, obviously, for 4 days, going to the Disney Wonder. I was like, oh, this is an older ship. It was still beautiful. Like, it's still a Disney cruise ship. So you're not getting like the bottom of the barrel. You're still getting Disney Cruise Line worthy. Like, so Disney will never put out a product. I believe that they don't, like, their product is always good. They will never put out something that doesn't look great.
Yeah, I'm really curious, though, what's going to end up happening with the Disney Magic and the Disney Wonder, because they are the 2 oldest ships, and it's, I kind of just want to see them docked somewhere. Like the Queen Mary is done in Long Beach, where it's docked and it's a hotel now. Like, How cool would it be to do that in a city that's not near a Disney park, like Boston or San Francisco or something like that, where you just dry dock it there and turn it into a hotel? I would love to see something like that happen, but
Maybe have some entertainment, employ more
yeah.
people.
Yeah, where you don't, where the ship can be like stable. Speaking of, I heard you had a bit of a rocky adventure.
My last day on the cruise, I was extended. So everyone else left September 15th. I was there till September 23rd to close out our Alaskan season show because we had one more week of Alaska before they were going to Hawaii, then Australia, the new cast. So I had to close out a show that didn't end up happening because it was so bad. It was so rocky. The show didn't even happen. So I was there for 8 days for no reason. But the last day, I hadn't felt seasick, maybe like once or twice when we first got on board, but nothing crazy. But of course, after being on this boat for 7 months, the last day got me so bad. Me and my roommate and my friend Sarah, we were just like, we couldn't get up. I couldn't work that day. Like I was scheduled to work and I texted my manager and I was like, I can't, if I leave this bed, I will throw up. And I did. But I'm like, if I leave, I will not be able to get up. I remember I was in crew office, like getting my debark papers. And I told the woman, I was like, I have to grab this and run because I can't stand anymore. I have to go lay down. It was so bad. I just felt like the ship was going like this the whole time. Yeah, and we never really experienced that. There was a couple mornings where I'm watching a royal gathering and the princesses are tipping and the kids are tipping, and it's really funny to watch. It's really funny to watch, but yeah, nothing too crazy. But the last day was horrible, and I was like, I was like ready to get off. I was like, get me off this boat, dock right now. I can't do it.
You're like, if only I hadn't extended that 1 week, I wouldn't be here right now.
I didn't know that I was an extension because on my contract it always said September 23rd. So I just assumed everyone else was September 23rd. And they told me they weren't. And I was like, why am I?
So listen, like everything in life, it sounds like there was a mix of good and bad here. Would you consider the gig again? And if so, how long would it need to be before you got back on a cruise ship? And not even just Disney, would you take a cruise gig? Or were you like only for Disney?
I've been in a lot of final callbacks for like Norwegian book musicals, but I think they're not doing those anymore. They're kind of like scraping the book musicals and doing production shows. And I've been called back for Royal a couple times. I don't think I would do another cruise line. I think cruise ship life wasn't necessarily for me. I think if I were to go back to it, it would have to be for Disney Cruise Line. As much as like I had some low points on that ship, but I also had like some of the best memories from there. Like I met amazing people. I'm like, now that I'm out, when I was in it, it was really hard to like see the finish line. And I was like, oh my God, this is never going to end. I hate this. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. And then I would see Belle interact with a little girl in a Belle dress and say she's her favorite princess and just like have a wonderful connection with the child. And then that would snap me out of it. And I'd be like, no, this is really special. This is really magical. And I can't believe that I am on board right now. It's crazy. If I were to do it again, I think I need some time off. My best friend is getting married in June. So I don't want to miss anything because I missed her engagement because I was in Toronto. I don't want to miss the bridal shower. I don't want to miss the bachelorette. Like I want to be here. I missed my family, my friends in the city so much. So I do want to take some time and take dance classes, take vocal lessons, like just like train audition in New York for a little bit. And if I were to do Disney Cruise Line again, I would have to have some stipulations of things that I don't ever want to see again, that I don't ever want to do again. You have to promise me in writing that I'm never going to do that again. And more money. A thing we didn't touch on was character performers get paid half of what main stage performers get paid, even though we work way more than them. Like my boyfriend only worked 3 days a week.
Even the face characters.
Even if you're on a character dancer face contract, you will get the most out of a character performer contract, but not nearly as much as the main stage performers are doing when you're doing way more than them. It's kind of crazy. And also your accommodations are smaller. You're sharing a cabin and they have their own cabin.
Okay, so next time you're on a Disney cruise ship, it needs to be a main stage role, essentially.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I've had callbacks for it. I feel like that would be great. I would also do another character performer contract if I was maybe like a headliner because they make more money. If maybe I got to sing and act and dance again, it would just have to be the right contract. I know they do dock out at Cape Canaveral. And I think a thing that I missed out on a lot with my contract being on the other side of the world, like the country being in San Diego and Vancouver and Alaska, is a lot of the Cape Canaveral ships. There's like 5 of them there now. They all can go to Disney World on their embark mornings off. They all can see their friends and family who are like, I have a lot of friends in Florida, like 45 minutes away from Cape Canaveral. And like my family vacations in Florida a lot. Like that would have been really easy for them to come see me, and I can sign them onto the ship for a day. Like anyone can sign on someone for a day. So that would have been a really cool aspect if I had that, like, oh, let's go to Disney World today with our free tickets that we get from the company. Or like, oh, my friend, I can go meet her for lunch. Like that would have been, I think that would have helped my mental health, I think, a lot. Like, okay, I'm stuck in this boat with the same people doing the same thing and management isn't listening to me. But, oh, I can get off tomorrow morning and go get breakfast with my best friend who isn't a part of this world and talk about other things. I think that would have helped my mental health a lot. So I think if they gave me a contract that would like dock out of Cape Canaveral and had those other things that I wanted, I would highly consider it.
Very cool. Are you returning to Whoville this holiday season?
I am not. I missed the callback. I got a callback for it. I submitted for it again. I missed the callback because I was in San Diego in May when the callbacks were in Orlando, and they don't do virtual submissions. It's not like a normal theater job where like you worked with them the year before, they loved you, you can come back. You have to show up like to the callback to be considered, because if you don't, you're not allowed to be considered.
All right. Well, what's going on for you? What's next for you, or what are you hoping is next?
That's a great question. I have a few I'm actually going to film a callback after I get off this for a show, and I'm going on vacation. I'm really excited to go on vacation and like hang out with my family. And I actually just got back from a vacation to Florida. I saw a bunch of my friends, and my boyfriend's family lives there, so we hung out with them. I can't wait to be a normal person again. I can't wait to take dance class again and take vocal lessons again. And I saw a Broadway show a couple, like,
what'd you see?
Minutes ago, I saw Mamma Mia with my mom. So that was really special to see. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen a Broadway show in a year. This is crazy. But just auditions and callbacks.
Sleep is important. I know wherever you land, it'll be great because you're a fantastic talent. You're a hard worker.
Thank
and
you.
You're wonderful. So listen, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for being so honest and upfront about things. And I'm glad you had this dream adventure for yourself. And now you can step away and rest from it for a bit.
I need to sleep for like a year.
On ground that isn't moving.
On ground, yes. Like I need like the my bed not to like move and my drawers not to open while I'm trying to sleep. Yes, that would be great.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, listen, Samantha, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Now it's time to bring in Meredith from Mini Memories Travel for another Disney vacation tip. But before we get to that tip, let's talk a bit about some news. How you doing, Meredith?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing okay. We did get some fun, exciting Disney news over the past month. Are you familiar with, I'm sure you at some point have done the Storybook Land canal boats at Disneyland?
Yes, and I love that stuff. I love, love, love.
Yeah, and it's a day one attraction. You know, it goes all the way back to Walt's time. Of course, it has evolved tremendously through the year. Kind of infamously, it was one of those attractions that just wasn't ready on opening day, but they're like, we need to open it. And they had like nothing to show for it. It was like dirt patches and random plants and stuff like that. And then, you know, soon after the park opened, they decided to add these miniatures of fairy tales and such, which they add to over the years. And we are now getting a new one coming up soon, a new miniature of Rapunzel's Tower from, of course, Walt Disney Animation Studios' Tangled. And yeah, they update this a good amount, which is really nice because it does feel like one of those things they could just kind of leave alone and let it be forgotten. But they updated a good amount, so it's nice to see this.
I just learned in reading about this that they'd add little Christmas bits to it, which I never noticed when there or thought about. So now I'm like, well, now I've got to come back not only to see Rapunzel's Tower, but I want to see the little wreaths on the door and the little things that I've missed.
It does feel like an attraction that they put a lot of like tender love and care into, which is nice. And one of the things, of course, we know Disneyland crowds, we're repeat crowds. These are people who come over and over and over again for the most part. So, you know, Disneyland, whenever they update anything or make anything new, it does seem like they're always like, how do we make this a repeatable attraction. And one of the things they're doing with this edition of Rapunzel's Tower is during the daytime, you'll hear an arrangement of When Will My Life Begin, the song from the movie, coming from the tower. And then as dusk falls, we'll hear I See the Light, which is, that great lantern scene, the musical moment from that. So if you're going during the day or after dark, you're getting two slightly different experiences, but still cute and nice nonetheless.
Right. And those of us who like to hear it all will have to ride both during the day and at night.
Exactly. As of right now, you do not need Lightning Lane for Storybook Land canal boats. So
that would be interesting if that becomes one of them. But
yeah.
You never know, do you, Jeff?
You never know. And I will say it's a super charming attraction. It's not something I do every time I go, but it is one of those things that I feel like it's easy for years to pass without, if you're a regular visitor, years could pass and you wouldn't go on it. After a couple years, give it another shot, go on it again and see what's been updated, because I do feel like they update it semi-regularly. And one of the nice things about this is, from what I can tell, this isn't replacing anything. This is just the addition of Rapunzel's Tower is simply an addition. So that's always great.
Exactly. We all love when we get little extras instead of replacing something.
Absolutely. And we also got news that the fan favorite attraction Soarin' will be receiving an all-new airborne adventure across the United States of America. You'll soon be soaring across America at Disneyland Resort and Walt Disney World Resort, debuting in summer of 2026 as part of the United States' 250th birthday. And this is, as we're recording this is like breaking news. This news just came out, and I love that they announced it with... So we all love Patrick, our chief flight attendant on Soarin'. We love him. And it's funny because he's kind of become like a parody in and of itself at this point. And he has once again come back. He did this a couple of years ago for something special. What was it? I don't think it was for Soarin' Around the World. It was much later than that. But there was some special moment that they reshot a video with him, and it was a really pleasant surprise. And he's back once again to announce this change and update. And I love that he's in on the joke. I love that Disney's in on the joke. Like, they're kind of poking fun at themselves, it feels like. And that's not something Disney does a ton, so I love to see it. It's refreshing.
Exactly. And we all love someone who can laugh at themselves, so why shouldn't the Disney brand be able to do it too? And it just brings everyone more joy, right? If you can have a little, and he's so perfectly plain in how he does it. He's the dry sense of humor, which my family loves. So yeah, I'm excited. And I was so thrilled when we got Soaring Around the World. I honestly would love if at some time they do, you can see Soaring Over California, Soaring Around the World, and the new one. I think that would be a fantastic way, but I don't know how hard that must be with the different theaters. I think they should be able to.
Yeah, so they do have multiple theaters. That would get chaotic, I think. The nice thing about Disney California Adventure is annually we get Soarin' Over California returning for, I believe it's during the Food and Wine Festival. So that's nice that we get to return to that. And of course, what I would love even more so, because I'm always I love the parks to be different. I don't want to get cookie cutter attractions. So Soarin' Over California obviously makes the most sense in Disney California Adventure. Soarin' Around the World makes a ton of sense in Epcot because of World Showcase. This Soarin' Across America is supposedly temporary, but, we all know these temporary things seem to come and go. So it's for the 250th birthday of the country, which of course is in 2026, 1776 to 2026. So we'll see. And do you have a preference, whether it's over California or around the world?
So I was lucky enough to be part of some of they showed us bits of Soaring Around the World before it came and said, what do you think about this versus this? What do you think about, like the one I got to mostly do was the dip into the Great Wall of China.
And I
so
love that movement.
Yeah. And that one, they recorded so much of it and we got to see so much and sort of say, oh, we like when the kites come over. Or we like when so that's going to always have a little special part of my heart because I think I was a part of it, which I really wasn't, but I can dream and I can pretend. I like them all for different. I like that we can get the different. I love your idea of having them and having the parks be different and having it be California in California and having it over the world. I do like the nod for the country's, celebration to have this one. I think that'll be cool, but I don't want to ever see them all go away.
Agreed. I think that they all have a place, and in rotation is great in my opinion. I just hope, and obviously they went out and they showed them shooting footage for this, but Soarin' Around the World, it's known a lot of that was created in a computer.
Yeah.
And I definitely prefer the practicality of Soarin' over California. So we'll see what Soarin' Across America brings us, but a nice little surprise and an attraction that is just so popular. And once again, I'll use the word refreshing because not based on an IP, but still one of the most popular attractions in the parks that they're in. So it's kind of, it's kind of proof that you don't need an IP to make a great attraction.
Very true. Very true. And yeah, we like to have something that's what I think Soaring was. It surprised everyone. My parents aren't theme park people. And when that came out, they're like, oh, Meredith, you got to tell us what this is. We might go see this because this looks.
Yeah, it's a fun one. And of course, those are coming to Disney California Adventure and Epcot. So that's coming up. Speaking of Epcot, though, we got some new audio animatronics figures coming to Frozen Ever After in Epcot with sculpted faces instead of the projected faces. These were originally created for Hong Kong Disneyland's attraction, the sculpted faces. So, that projected face technology wasn't necessarily new for Frozen Ever After. Buzz Lightyear had it years before. The Seven Dwarfs Mine Train had it, but they were the most human-like characters to use it. And there's kind of been a lot of debate as whether or not it was an improvement. Even I go back and forth in my mind. I just like the idea of these are animated characters, and we're seeing animation animate their faces just as they do in the film. Now, on a quote-unquote human character, I don't think it's as convincing as, at the Seven Dwarfs, I think it's brilliant because they're so animated, for lack of a better term. So, I don't know. How do you feel about this? We're getting essentially just standard or the more traditional audio animatronics faces, but more than a traditional dark ride. Their lips will move and such. And we've seen it in Hong Kong. That's how they opened their Frozen ride. I'm looking forward to it, I think.
I think I am too. I do. The last time I rode it, it needed to be updated. So this is the solution for it. So maybe we'll love it too.
Yeah, I think it will be really interesting it would be interesting to talk to a lighting designer and talk about lighting the scenes with the projected faces. Because honestly, my guess is they're going to relight all of the scenes with the figures in the attraction because, with a projection, you obviously need minimal light in order to see that projection. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And of course, there's videos out there already of side by side of the Epcot projected faces versus the Hong Kong practical. And yeah, I don't think anybody saw this really coming. I'm a little surprised by it, but I think it's great. And I'm always impressed. Granted, it's been 10 years, but I'm always impressed when somebody can try something new and say, you know what, it just ain't working. So let's go back to some traditional stuff. And I think that it's kind of a rarity, not just with Disney, just with anything. One of the biggest examples of this for me was I was in Disneyland when they were getting ready for the 60th anniversary. And that was the Diamond celebration.
Yeah.
And they had these giant plastic diamonds on the rooftops of all the peaks of the castle. And it was grotesque. It kind of had flashbacks of 25th anniversary birthday cake.
Birthday cake. I was about to say birthday cake.
Not that colorful, but it was just that big and kind of gaudy. And I was there, I was like, oh my God. And like I said, the celebration hadn't started yet, but they were prepping for it and they were fully installed on the castle. And by the time the celebration officially started, they were gone. And I was like, good on them for saying we tried it. We wasted some money, but it's not working. Because I feel like in a lot of cases, we spent the money. That's what it's going to be. I love it when they can edit. Editing is very important in everything. And yeah.
And the ability to say it doesn't work is something we should all have in us. Okay. I messed up.
Yep.
I think that is a lesson that parents should teach their children, and we should all reteach ourselves often. It's okay to say it. It's okay.
Absolutely. And we don't have a date just yet for these updates to Frozen Ever After, but they're saying early 2026. So probably by April or May, we'll have those updated figures. And I don't think the line for that attraction has ever really died down. So this is just going to make it even longer now, which means, guess what? Lightning Lane sales.
Bane of my existence right now.
Moving on to some sadder news. Unfortunately, the poster artist Drew Struzan passed away at the age of 78. A lot of you may not know that name, but I promise you know his art. Did you know this name, Meredith?
Before you sent me the link, I did know his name because I was one of those kids who collected the posters for my room. And so, yeah, I did.
I love that. So Drew Struzan, back, I think his heyday was like the 80s, I would say. He did these drawings for movie posters that, you could tell they were drawings, but they were very realistic as well. Some of the most iconic, one of my favorites is Back to the Future, but he did a bunch related to Disney as well. Like all of the Star Wars original saga posters and even the prequels, he did those. It's a very specific style. If you know the Indiana Jones posters, he did those. And with Indiana Jones, he actually did the attraction poster as well. The one that you see hanging as you enter Disneyland for Indiana Jones Adventure, that is Drew Struzan. And from what I hear, I've heard this story. I don't know how true it is, but when he was originally doing it, I don't know if you know this, Meredith, but the attraction does not have the rights to use Harrison Ford's likeness, which is why the audio animatronics figure doesn't really look like Harrison Ford. It kind of just looks like generic hero.
Okay, so I didn't know that, and that was one of the things that bothered me the first time I wrote it. I'm like, come on, Disney doesn't care.
It's not supposed to look like him. For legal reasons, it's not supposed to. So Drew was instructed to draw the poster without really showing the face, make it a shadow or something like that. And he said, well, why? Why am I doing this? And like, well, we don't have the rights to Harrison Ford's face. And he goes, well, hold on a second. And he called Harrison Ford and he said, I'm doing this poster for Disneyland. Can I put your face on it? He's like, for you, Drew, anything. Or, I'm paraphrasing, and this is a story I've heard. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but apparently that is why the poster looks like Harrison Ford for Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland, but they didn't get the rights for the figure.
That is very cool. See, I love this. I learn something from you every time we talk.
It's the power of Drew Struzan, apparently. He also he's done work for the Muppets. Muppet Christmas Carol is one of my favorite posters of his, and other Muppet stuff. Hocus Pocus he did one for. So a lot of, beyond Disney as well, but a lot of Disney stuff. And truly one of those artists that I feel like new artists emulate. And of course, movie posters really aren't done in that style anymore, but there is a love for that style and a nostalgia for that style. So I feel like it will... Eventually, there will be a new artist who kind of takes that reign. And we kind of see it with Stranger Things these days. I don't know who does those, but since that's like a very 1980s show, they'll use that style for their marketing.
And I don't think anyone does faces like he does. So I hope someone does pick up the reins, especially with him passing. Maybe it'll bring it to the forefront again.
Yeah, so sad story, but nice. Hopefully a lot of people are learning his name and will remember his name, because truly an artist that, a lot of people have been affected by. So it's very, very cool. That's all I got for news. So now let's move on to some Disney experiences we've had recently. Meredith, anything going on in the world of Disney for you?
It has been a quiet month for me in terms of that kind of thing. So only my Disney has just been planning trips for people. I haven't gotten to do anything Disney fun. So which means I better jump in the next month because I'm missing it.
I'm in a similar state because I'm in full mode Halloween. I went to Disneyland for a few hours with a friend, but that's about it. He was in town and I wanted to spend time with him at Disneyland. Other than that, it's been full on Halloween mode for me, but I'm going to ask you for a follow-up then, since there's nothing new. Okay. I remember you telling me, I hope these people did their trip already. You were simultaneously planning I believe there were both Walt Disney World trips. One with wealthy folks where budget didn't matter, and a couple who I believe were honeymooning and like they really wanted to stretch their money. Have you gotten updates from either of those?
Yes, and it's exactly what I would have expected. For the family whose financial situation is such that they didn't have to worry, yes, they came home having had a fabulous trip. They were happy. They said, thank you, appreciated, great. The couple that we had, I had so much fun making sure that I could make it just as magical came. I got daily text, daily pictures, daily, oh my word, Meredith, it's more than I ever thought. I mean, just everything that fills me with such joy about why I do this. It was so satisfying and so makes me happy because I want every person to get the experience of magic that you can get with Disney, and money shouldn't be an object. We all know that Disney is pricey, but we can make it happen. And it doesn't have to break the bank. And they actually came in and said, Meredith, we were under budget. And I was like, that made me very, very happy because I was super conscious of making sure that they got the magic without coming home and going, well, now we have to eat ramen for whatever.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. And yeah, that's just so cool. Remind me, was it their first time ever going to Walt Disney World?
Ever. I could never afford it. It was their dream. It was just, they were so realistic in their expectations that it was easy to far exceed them. And they were so grateful. And it was just, it's why I do my job. I want to exceed people's expectations. I want to provide those memories. This is something that I'm getting so many referrals from her because she's like, I care. And that's such an easy thing to do, to care about our job and what we do. So I love it.
That's awesome. We'll get to your official tip of the month in a second, but I am curious, how do you deal with people who are adults, or actually it doesn't even matter, it can be a family with kids as well, who are going to Walt Disney World, like everybody, it's their very first time. I'm sure they come to you and they're like, we want to do everything, which, Walt Disney World is so big, 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, Disney Springs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What do you say to them when we have a week where there's 7 days that includes travel? So it's really 5 days, maybe 6. What do you say to them at that point?
You just walked me into my tip, Jeff.
Oh, great. With that, Meredith, what's this month's Disney travel tip?
So it's this silly rule that you hear a lot. It's called 3-2-1. And whenever a new person comes to me and they start getting completely overwhelmed, and I have this I do not believe in overwhelmed when planning a trip. I want to start and say, let's first find you where you're staying. Then let's figure out, so when we get to what parks to visit, I want them to look at all 4 parks, and then we can also talk about Disney Springs and the water parks. And Disneyland is just 2, which is much easier to manage. And I say, I want you to pick 3 rides, 2 experiences, character meet and greets or shows or whatever, and 1 meal at each park. And I want those to be the things that you really have to do and take your time and really think about it. I have suggestions, but I want you to tell me what things strike your fancy first before I start my suggestions. And if I break it down and tell them 3, 2, 1, all of a sudden it's very manageable. They're going to way exceed doing 6 things in a day, right? So it makes it so their expectations are such and they're focusing on that you always exceed the expectation, which some people at Disney can get frustrated. I didn't get to do, I didn't, whatever. I also am the queen of saying no one. After saying that, then my next thing is no one attraction should make or break your trip because things break, rides go down, life happens. The Louvre got robbed this week. Things happen that are way beyond what any one of us think are going to happen, right? And so I try to set the expectation and make it manageable. And then what they tell me, and sometimes they come in with things that I wouldn't have put in my top 3 attractions. And I'm like, I'm really glad I asked that way because now I know that that is a focus for you. And so that I started doing that long ago, but now I really even hone in on it more because it really does, instead of them going, pick my favorite things, I gave you a number. Find your number, match my number. And then I'm going to tell you, okay, perfect. We can easily get that done in the morning. And now we're going to have the afternoon to whatever. It just makes it so that it's not overwhelming, which is the whole point of using someone like me. I want to make it fun and exciting and break it down into steps. And that's an easy step. So that's, exactly what you're saying. You tell me the number of days. I'm going to, you tell me what you are, but I'm going to help you break it down and to narrow it down. And then it actually opens things up for getting lots done and enjoying it.
That's awesome. And I always say anticipation is the best part of anything. So working with you just kind of feels like an anticipation machine, right?
It's what I hope. And I just really try to, so many people come to me it's the first phone call is always hysterical, or the first text where it's just like, for no nicer way to say it, verbal diarrhea, verbal like, blah, and this person, that. And I always say, okay, I've taken notes. I'm super excited. And I'm going to tell you, every single person you're going to meet is now a Disney expert. They're going to tell you 8 million things that they absolutely have to do. I want you to listen and then come to me and ask, say, this is what I heard. My friend says, I have to do this. And I will help you either fit it in or tell you why, what, explain why that appeals, explain, and because it is funny, you were going to have the person who will swear to you that you at 16 still have to ride Dumbo. No, you really don't.
I love it. That's fantastic. Well, Meredith, thank you for the tip. And folks, you can get Meredith's top 10 tips for visiting Walt Disney World simply by contacting her and asking for the Disney Coast to Coast bonus document with no obligations whatsoever. You can find Meredith's contact info using the Mini Memories travel link in this episode's description. And don't forget, Meredith can help you plan any vacation you'd like at zero cost to you. With that, Meredith, I'll talk to you again next month, and have a happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you, Jeff. I hope all your fun plans come to fruition, and it's wonderful.
Now, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll be back next month with another. If you're looking for more before then, be sure to check out the DCTC catalog featuring hundreds of different episodes with a wide array of topics and conversations. If you enjoyed today's episode, you might also enjoy DCTC episode number 1045, where I have a conversation with a friend of Santa Claus on the Disney Wish cruise ship. Whether you're in the car, planning a Disney trip, cooking dinner, or enjoying a shower, Disney Coast to Coast has episodes available for you to enjoy 24/7 in your favorite podcast app. DCTC Patreon members can join me and Kyle Burbank from laughingplace.com every month during our Disney Catch-Up Zoom sessions. Join by clicking the Patreon link in this episode's description. This episode has been executive produced by Jeffrey Riccio. Gain rewards like Jeffrey, including access to never-before-heard episodes and more, by becoming a Patreon member yourself. Until next time, anything you need can be found in this episode's description. From the DCTC hotline, where you can leave a voicemail and be heard on a future episode, contact info to reach me, some free gifts from me to you, and so much more. So be sure to check out this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!